Questions. Let. About professional education. Part 20. Question number 1. Teacher Rika wants to know what her students already know about the topic before starting the lesson on verbs. Which situation shows the kind of assessment she should use? Letter A. She gives a test at the end of the unit to record grades. Letter B. She gives a short quiz before starting the lesson to identify prior knowledge. Letter C. She checks essays after students finish writing. Letter D. She gives a project at the end of the semester. The correct answer is letter B. She gives a short quiz before starting the lesson to identify prior knowledge. This demonstrates a diagnostic assessment, which is given before instruction to identify students' prior knowledge, strengths, weaknesses, and readiness for learning. In the scenario, Teacher Rika administers a quiz before teaching verbs to determine what her students already know. By doing this, she can adjust her lesson plan based on the results, focusing more on areas where students need improvement. Diagnostic assessment helps teachers understand students' learning needs and ensures that instruction is tailored to support better understanding and progress. Question number 2. Before teaching problem solving in math, Teacher Ria talks individually with some students and asks, "Can you explain how you solve word problems?" Which diagnostic assessment is shown in this situation? Letter A. Pre-test. Letter B. Self-assessment. Letter C. Interview. Letter D. Discussion board response. The correct answer is letter C. Interview. The interview is used to diagnose learning needs by talking directly with students to understand how they think and learn. In the scenario, Teacher Ria talks individually with her students and asks them to explain how they solve word problems. Through this approach, teachers ask open-ended questions to understand students' thinking, reasoning, and problem-solving processes. By doing this before teaching, Teacher Ria can identify who already understands the steps in solving word problems and who needs more support. The 4 types of diagnostic test are: first is pre-test. It is a short quiz or test given before a lesson to check what students already know and what they still need to learn. For example is, the teacher gives a math quiz before teaching fractions. Second is the self-assessment where the students reflect on their own learning by rating or describing how confident they are about a topic. For example is, the students rate themselves on how well they can identify verbs. Third is the discussion board response. Students share their ideas or prior knowledge about a topic through online or written discussions before a lesson. For example is, the students post what they know about persuasive writing on a class discussion board. And lastly, the interview. It is a conversation between the teacher and student to understand the student's thinking, reasoning, and learning needs. For example is, the teacher asks, "How do you solve word problems?" to see how the student thinks. Question number 3. While teaching division, Teacher Leon gives a short quiz to see if students understand the lesson. She checks the results and reteaches the parts most students got wrong. Letter A. Diagnostic assessment. Letter B. Assessment of learning. Letter C. Assessment as learning. Letter D. Assessment for learning. The correct answer is letter D. Assessment for learning. This type of assessment is done during the learning process to help students improve their understanding. It is also known as formative assessment, which focuses on guiding learning rather than just measuring it. In the situation, Teacher Leon gives a short quiz while teaching division to check if her students understand the lesson. She reviews the results and reteaches the parts that most students got wrong. This shows that the quiz is used to monitor learning and adjust teaching strategies. By using the results to reteach, the teacher supports students in mastering the topic, which is the main goal of assessment for learning. Question number 4. Before discussing a new topic, Teacher Leah asks a question, lets students think silently, discuss with a partner, and then share their answers with the class. Letter A. Peer assessment. Letter B. Quiz. Letter C. Think, pair, share. Letter D. Observation. The correct answer is letter C. Think, pair, share. Based on the situation, Teacher Leah uses a process where the students think, first silently to reflect on a question. Second is each pair of students discusses their thoughts with a partner. And lastly is to present and share their ideas to the whole class. This method, called as a think, pair, share, a formative assessment technique that encourages active participation, collaboration, and critical thinking. It also helps the teacher assess students' understanding informally by listening to their shared ideas and observing how they reason with their partners during the discussion. While observation is used when the teacher watches students' behavior, participation, or skills during activities to gather information about their learning and attitudes in a natural setting. The peer assessment happens when students evaluate each other's work or performance based on set criteria. It helps them learn from classmates and reflect on their own progress. And lastly, the quiz. It is a short written or oral test used to check students' understanding of a topic. It measures how well they learned and is often used for review or grading. Question number 5. A language school requires new students to take a short speaking and listening test before classes start. The results are used to assign students to the correct English level. Which similar situation shows placement assessment? Letter A. A teacher interviews students before instruction to know which level or section fits them best. Letter B. A teacher asks students to evaluate their performance after a project. Letter C. A teacher gives a unit test after finishing a topic. Letter D. A teacher checks attendance during the lesson. The correct answer is letter A. A teacher interviews students before instruction to know which level or section fits them best. This situation clearly represents a placement assessment because the teacher is checking the student's skills and knowledge before teaching begins. The goal is to identify each learner's current level so they can be placed in the most suitable class or section. In connection to the question, the teacher's interview acts as the assessment tool to determine readiness, just like in a language school where a short speaking and listening test is given before classes start to decide if a student should be in the beginner, intermediate, or advanced level. This ensures that every student is placed where they can learn most effectively. Question number 6. Teacher Anna wants to identify which students are naturally good at solving logical puzzles before teaching a course in problem-solving strategies. She gives the students a series of reasoning puzzles that they have never studied before. Which type of assessment is Teacher Anna using? Letter A. Achievement test. Letter B. Diagnostic test. Letter C. Formative assessment. Letter D. Aptitude test. The correct answer is letter D. Aptitude test. An aptitude test measures potential or innate ability in a specific area, such as logical reasoning, verbal ability and spatial skills before the formal instruction. It can also show at areas where a person is naturally strong or weak, but this is about potential, not learned knowledge. In this scenario, Teacher Anna is giving students reasoning puzzles they have never studied before to see their natural ability to solve problems. She is assessing their innate logical ability, not their learned knowledge. This is not about what they have already learned, which would be an achievement test, nor is it about checking understanding during a lesson, which is a formative assessment, or identifying specific learning difficulties, which reflects to a diagnostic test. Question number 7. During a group discussion, the teacher observes students' participation and corrects any misunderstandings on the spot. She doesn't grade their performance. What assessment is this? Letter A. Summative assessment. Letter B. Informal assessment. Letter C. Placement test. Letter D. Standardized test. The correct answer is letter B. Informal assessment. In this scenario, the teacher is observing students' participation and correcting misunderstandings immediately during the activity. She is not grading their performance, and the assessment is spontaneous and flexible. These are the main characteristics of informal assessment. It is on the spot, unplanned, and aimed at giving immediate feedback rather than recording grades. While the formative assessment is a planned assessment conducted during the learning process to monitor student progress, provide feedback, and guide both teaching and learning. Its main goal is to help students improve before the final evaluation. While the summative assessment is done after instruction to measure final achievement, usually graded like final exam. The placement test is given before instruction to determine the appropriate level or group for a student. And standardized test is a formal, structured test with set procedures, usually administered to many students under standard conditions. Question number 8. During a science class, which student activity best demonstrates authentic assessment? Letter A. Mark answers 50 multiple-choice questions about the water cycle. Letter B. Elias listens to a lecture about the water cycle. Letter C. Christine copies the diagrams of the water cycle from the textbook. Letter D. Maricel creates a model of the water cycle and explains how it works. The correct answer is letter D. Maricel creates a model of the water cycle and explains how it works. This situation shows an example of authentic assessment because Maricel is applying her understanding of the water cycle in a real and meaningful way by creating a model and explaining the process in her own words. Unlike traditional tests that focus on recalling facts and knowledge and not on real-world application like the situation from option A and option C where Mark answer a multiple choice and Christine copying notes. The authentic assessments allow students to demonstrate learning through performance, creativity, and real-world application. So, Maricel's activity represents authentic assessment since it focuses on doing, demonstrating, and explaining understanding, not just answering questions. Question number 9. Which situation best shows a formal assessment? Letter A. Teacher Ron gives a written quiz with clear scoring and recorded grades after teaching a lesson on adjectives. Letter B. Teacher Kim observes students during a group activity and notes their participation to decide who understands the topic well. Letter C. Teacher Liza gives students a checklist to rate their own performance after a presentation. Letter D. Teacher May gives a quarterly exam with standardized questions and a grading rubric. The correct answer is letter D. Teacher May gives a quarterly exam with standardized questions and a grading rubric. This situation best shows a formal assessment because the quarterly exam is a structured, planned, and standardized test that measures students' learning officially. It uses clear criteria such as rubric and recorded scores. Formal assessments are objective, systematic, and graded. They follow a specific format and are often used for reporting student performance or achievement. Teacher May's exam is not based on observation or informal feedback, it's a documented and scored evaluation of students' learning outcomes. The difference of formal and summative assessment in terms of learning. The formal assessment focuses on how students' learning is measured and documented. In Teacher May's case, the quarterly exam uses a structured test and clear scoring system to check what students have learned in an organized way. It helps ensure that the evaluation of learning is objective, consistent, and based on clear criteria. On the other hand, the summative assessment focuses on what level of learning students have achieved at the end of the quarter. Teacher May uses the exam results to judge students' overall mastery of the lessons and to assign final grades, showing how much learning took place after all instruction. Question number 10. Teacher Rose uses oral recitation, written quizzes, and portfolios to gather information about students' progress in social studies. What process is teacher Liza performing in this situation? Letter A. Assessment. Letter B. Test. Letter C. Measurement. Letter D. Evaluation. The correct answer is letter A. Assessment. The assessment is the process of collecting information about students' learning through different methods such as tests, oral recitations, projects, and portfolios. Its main purpose is to understand students' progress, identify their strengths and weaknesses, and improve teaching and learning. In the situation, Teacher Rose uses various activities such as oral recitation, written quizzes, and portfolios to find out how her students are performing in social studies. This shows she is conducting an assessment, because she is gathering data from multiple sources to evaluate students' overall learning development.